Hello and welcome to the program Binding. I'm Andrea Lochin, and today we're hosting an unusual guest, the head of a respectable establishment. She's the head of the Taras Hryhorovych Shevchenko Central Library. This excellent enterprise requires an excellent head. To be honest, when I met the director of the library, I was astonished. You will discover why, I promise. I was certain that she would be a respectable but elderly lady with a barbette or hair combed back, with glasses and a dusty jacket. You will realize in a moment why my stereotypes have fallen short. Meet Yana Bilenko, the head of this respectable establishment. Yana, I am terribly sorry if my question would appear informal or too intimate. However, I would never in my life met young women, girls, who would dream of becoming a librarian when they grow up. Girls often imagine themselves as artists, actresses, often if they have striking charm. In all honesty, did you imagine that you'd want to be a librarian since childhood? How did you find this, in my opinion, exotic profession? It's exotic now. When I was a child, of course, I did not think of becoming a librarian, but for a girl from a decent family, the major goal in life was far from making any career. Especially when you come from a good, intellectual family, where the next 25 years are planned ahead, including the buying of a new TV or when to take steps in one's personal life. The most important thing was marriage. In conditions of shortfalls of all goods, girls concentrated on aspects like where to find shoes, how to knit a sweater, which material to use when sewing a skirt, the good girls from good families, so as to know all these points, knitting sweaters and sewing skirts, and have the time to find a husband. Also had to learn music, read books, understand some aspects of art, the English language, and get a solid profession in the humanities, where you can sit all pretty and find your prince, preferably a dentist or military officer. Well, it depends. It depends on luck. Therefore, at high school, I was dreaming, well, actually, I was planning to enroll in foreign languages university and do something with languages, since it was almost impossible to go abroad in Soviet times. I wanted to travel because it seemed like a significant step. Yet I wasn't accepted into a university. I didn't have a lot of options since I'm not good at maths. I didn't like chemistry or physics, while teaching was forbidden for me. It requires nerves of steel. Then philology. Philology is quite boring, extremely boring. So I was wondering where to go. I decided to enroll at a library faculty and see how it would go for me. Besides, I was studying by correspondence as I was in work. I got in the queue and graduated. Nevertheless, I worked at a library for a short while, to the start of the 1990s. Then everything turned upside down. In Ukraine, yes. I hadn't practiced as a librarian for a long time. You had not become the classic librarian with glasses and a heavy gaze, who indicated whether a person could borrow a book. I'm not sure whether I would have turned into that type of librarian if I had chosen to practice, but my behavior then did not correspond with the traditional model. I'm surprised I returned to the profession. How come? Or rather, why did you reconsider the profession? It occurred by chance. My last place of employment was a private academy, where I headed the dean's office. Once again, the world around us was transforming and developing, when one knew that such thing as a private academic institution won't last. I faced the situation where I was thinking where to go, how to live, and what to do and what to plan. It was by chance that I found out that the library where I started my career had vacancies. Did you come back, really? Sure, I came there when I was a student and worked for a year or maybe a year and a half. I found out they were looking for a head of the IT department.
Эта тема мне была близка, интересна, я как бы уже...
I was interested in the topic and had some idea about it. After a year and a half or 2 years, I became assistant director. I worked there for 3 years in total. Then legislation was altered, and I could apply for the director's post. I won the tender 2 years ago. That is how I became a real librarian. Yes, a classic one. I must admit that it's possible to film a series based on your biography. In fact, the young librarian who got into the profession out of despair quit and then returned in the new role of director. It's a perfect plot for a series or even a musical opera.
Скажу вам честно, библиотека, о которой мы говорим, располагается в центре.
To tell the truth, the library we're discussing is located in the heart of Ukrainian capital. And without the sign Central Library, you would never guess that this one building is a legendary place. At first, when I had the chance to go inside there, I was amazed because I never thought our country had such libraries. Yana, I will be honest and share a personal story with you. I was in Europe, a small city, quite old, and all of a sudden I noticed a bright building built in a contemporary architectural style. And there are a lot of people. Someone comes in and someone leaves. I speculate whether it's a shopping mall, but it doesn't look like one, though it attracts people. I ask about the place and discover that it's a library. Contemporary libraries are similar to media centers, where you can get access to the U.S. Library of Congress simply by entering the building. Ukraine does not yet have that many resources, yet your library is a flagship and model library. I was there, and frankly, I was amazed by what I saw. Flagship, a model library. You see, we were lucky from the start to have a building built in a particular architecture style. It is located in a beautiful place, Technical Institute on Perry-Mohay Avenue. It has conventional planning. The long building of the commissary is one of many similar accommodations, the Krakow restaurant, the post office, and the commissary. We haven't changed a thing. At first because there was no need for changes, and then because of funding shortages, and as a result, we decided to preserve it. The preserved building design and interior are acquiring popularity, and we had this gift by way of good fortune. I believe that we succeeded in creating a modern, comfortable, and functional interior without damaging the original architecture, which is great. It is hard to accept the title of flagship, since we had the foundation for later transformations. Unfortunately, in Kyiv and in Ukraine overall, there is a tendency to build and invest money in new, modern and large libraries, since the metamorphosis of old into new is exciting, but the result does not give the expected effect. Kyiv introduced a reorganization program for libraries. Now, 3 large district libraries in Kyiv are under large-scale reconstruction. They are an example of big reconstruction processes. They have big plans for one of them, the Kostomarov Library at Nivki. They expect to build a 3D cinema inside the library, to put a telescope on top, elevators, green walls, and everything else. Obviously, this will take some time, but we're waiting to see the result. I mean, these libraries are in districts, maybe not quite. Not quite meant for libraries. Yes, quite socially disadvantaged ones. Nevertheless, the aim is to refresh these districts with the help of these libraries. Do you think it will work? I would once again recall a personal story. I live in dormitory suburbs, where everything coexists all at once, libraries and bookstores. I would confess that the building is not used accordingly, although it looks impressive yet sad, with large dusty windows. There would be a corner with a library, where one can find an old lady by coughing, albeit demonstratively. She'll be surprised to see visitors, and I associate this one vision with libraries. Do you believe that the creation of a new and modern library, a media center with the sign library in the heart of a less than elite and rich district, would have a positive impact on the area and people would be interested in it? Maybe it won't revive the area, but it's important to start somewhere. We have to arouse community interest in going to libraries and teaching them that it is normal and not scary, and that libraries can be a third home, where they can learn after one's home and work. I will tell that people often look at our windows and ask, can I come in? Is it free? Is this a bookstore? Does library mean that I can come here and nothing will happen to me? I won't be judged? I can understand that. Can you? We're fostering interest, and we've managed to teach people who are passing by the library to come inside. We should start somewhere. This field has been neglected for 25 years, and people view librarians in a negative way, as if we're a little crazy. Sorry, but it is so. Well, yes, even when books were in short supply, though it was most likely the only moment when the field was flourishing, and people queued up half a year in advance for the Woman in White. People were subscribing. It is evident that demand was high since there were no alternatives, up until the moment when new literature and press stopped appearing and the internet emerged. The truth is the field always received funding on the principle of leftovers. What can you ask from libraries? The majority of those who do not use them believe they are not necessary at all. Indeed, I cannot change my mind that libraries are a symbol of irrelevance, a rudiment, archaic something that still exists for some reason. As you mentioned, other countries perceive libraries with passion. They even compete to some extent. Amsterdam, Chinese libraries, and I'm not even going to refer to the Singapore library, which is beyond one's imagination. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, but we should take into account one's experience. Let's note what other successful enterprises did, think about it, and make our own unique product. Perhaps something that Amsterdam needs is not relevant in our country. Moreover, what is timely in Singapore we don't yet need. The biggest problem we have is the inability to provide the fresh literature that visitors want. They say that if you want to see what the country will look like in 10, 20, 30 years from now on, go to children's libraries and have a look at what young readers are choosing to read. Their choice speaks for them. Our guest knows everything about it. Children are children, and we're not talking about those who come to a library to read the curriculum literature. The school curriculum forms a certain foundation and constructs knowledge, which is right, so we should review literature for leisure. Young children come with their parents, grandparents. We have a collection of children's literature that in recent years has been oriented towards Ukrainian literature. Visitors often ask for contemporary or classic Ukrainian works. There's no tragedy that children are not reading. The trend has not changed. Everything is going as usual, am I right? Someone is reading and someone is not. Well, and what about the generation gap? For example, a kid wants to read about vampires, while grandmother wants them to read Arkady Gaidar. I mean, libraries, unlike a bookstore, enable a child to decide what they want to read. In the bookstore, grandmother would buy a child what she wants, and in a library, they can manage the conflict free of charge and select the book. Is it free? Of course it is free. Interesting. I mean, even when a child goes with grandmother, they can send her packing and decide what to read for themselves. Even take a vampire book. You see it every day. Is there any generation conflict in the aspect of choice of literature? Or have we safely passed this dividing point? Children who come with their grandparents do not challenge the choice. Those who want want to read about vampires come without any supervision. I see. They may have conflicts at home, but I am not sure how to address this. I think it requires a level of professional competence on the part of a librarian to handle disputes of this kind. I mean to find a compromise by offering literature that would be interesting for a child, and his or her grandparents would be calm about it. But everyone is working with the children, and members of the elderly generation are left behind. I would argue because we have an adult reader zone, where those same grandmothers can find literature to their liking as well, from books about housekeeping to romantic novels that everyone judges but still read. You can even joke to the children saying, "Kids, one day you will grow up and read all this stuff." I want to thank you sincerely, first of all, for your time, second of all, for transforming dusty halls into something relevant and functioning. When I visited, I was amazed by the library and understand that a great deal is down to you. Once again, thank you, and I wish you every success. Thank you.
Спасибо. Спасибо вам.